Hello, everyone. I am Melissa Forziat. I'm a keynote speaker and the host of this Daisy Jones and the Six Rewatch podcast. When I speak, my topic is something I call Take the Doughnut. It's another way to say carpe diem. It's all about going after the things you want in life. Something I want to do this year is rewatch Daisy Jones and the Six, the show, and talk about it with other fans. I know there are a lot of fans of this show out there. I want to talk with you. I want to hear what you think about this show because I haven't gotten a chance to dissect it with anybody yet. So let's do this together. So last week we launched the Rewatch podcast with an announcement video. Next week I'm going to start doing the episode recaps. But I felt like I needed to do a little housekeeping before I start in on the episode recaps. So today we're going to cover a couple different things. First of all, I'm going to talk about what to expect from the podcast, some of the things to be aware of, some of the things that are my strengths and weaknesses, some areas where you might want to be really keen watchers and contribute comments to help fill out some of the areas that I'm probably not going to be as strong in. So that's definitely one thing that I want to do. And I also wanted to start encouraging you to point out things that you want me to be especially aware of during the rewatch. So that's a couple things that we're going to do today. So first of all, let's talk about what to expect from this Daisy Jones and the Six Rewatch podcast. My intention is to start with a deep dive episode recap for all 10 episodes of the show. We'll do it one at a time. We'll go one episode each week. And I'm going to go scene by scene with those. I will warn you that I have done this kind of thing for the show *Halt and Catch Fire*. I've done this kind of thing for the show *Felicity*, and it can take me hours per episode. So get ready for that. If you want to have something to listen to in the background as you do other things, this is a podcast for you. But also it's a really fun way to dive deep into a show that hopefully you love as much as I do. So expect some long podcasts. What I'm going to try to do, though, is I'm going to keep the podcasts specifically to my thoughts on the episodes. There have been other shows where I've had audience feedback during the podcast. That's going to be a little harder to do for this one because it's a shorter run, and I won't have as much time to gather people's comments. So what I'm going to do is episode by episode, I'm going to go through scene by scene, talk about the episode. I'll share a favorite quote at the end. And I also want to share like a question to think about, something that I want to get your feedback on in the comments of the YouTube videos. And that way you can contribute your thoughts. My hope is that when all 10 episodes are done, I'm working on some extra content for you. I've already banked a couple of interviews that I'm working on, but I also want to have some audience feedback specific podcast episodes that relate to certain questions that we've been tackling or certain themes that have come up in your feedback along the way. So that is something that you can look for as we go through. Now, when I'm doing my coverage, here's what I'm probably going to be very keenly aware of. Things like character relationships and energy, dialogue choices, actors' choices in terms of ways they chose to block a scene, or just little details about the nuance of how the words came to life. I also tend to notice camera work. I will say, so for *Halt and Catch Fire*, some of you may have already seen my coverage for that show and are coming to this from that. Welcome back. If you haven't, you may know that in that coverage for that show, I actually interviewed about 70 members of the cast and crew. So I became very aware of jobs that I wouldn't have been aware of before. Things like what the editors did and production design, things like that. Definitely like director's choices, camera angles. So now I kind of look through that lens a little bit more at other shows that I'm watching. And so you may hear some things like that coming up. Anything that's sort of an artistic choice about the show is something that I tend to notice, with exceptions, and I'm going to make those clear in just a moment. Here's where it's maybe not going to be a good deep dive for you. I never notice fashion. I almost never know. There are certainly some bold fashion choices in this show, and I'm not going to be great at talking about those. And even if I were, I don't have the language for them. And you'll think it's ridiculous. You're going to think right now that I'm exaggerating, but I am here to tell you that I can watch an entire scene 100 times and I can tell you everything about a character's energy, nothing about what they were wearing or how they looked. So if this is something that you know a lot about, I really want you jumping into the comments. Tell me what you love. Tell me what you don't love. Tell me things. Tell me things about the fashion of this show. And who knows, maybe that'll become a whole extra podcast later if we get enough coverage on that. So, or at least a podcast episode, I should say. The music. Let's, I would love people's thoughts about the music because I certainly love the Daisy Jones and the Six original songs that they created for the show. I love the music that was curated for it, but I'm not an expert on music of that time period. So if you have a lot of knowledge about it, jump in and tell me what I'm missing. Another thing that people may be more sensitive to bring information on, but I need to be transparent with this. I fortunately do not have experience with drug or alcohol addiction in my life or in my circles that has been a day-to-day factor for me. So that is certainly a factor in the show for a variety of characters. And if you feel like you have information to bring to the table on that, I don't want anybody to feel like they're offering information that they're not comfortable to share. But, I will have to be thoughtful and sensitive about how I raise those issues because I don't know what I don't know. And that's, a part of the show that will be fairly prominent as we go through. So those are a few things to be aware of that as if you have an expertise in those areas, definitely don't be shy. Jump in on those comments. That's why I'm doing this on YouTube. That's what the comment section is for, to talk about the show so that you can talk with me, I can talk with you, and you can talk with each other. And if you find as we're going through that the coverage that I'm doing is sort of glossing over an area that you know a lot about, jump in. We'd all love to hear from you. That's the great part about hearing multiple people's perspectives. The only thing that I ask is that we just stay respectful to each other's opinions. There is no one, this is the right or wrong thing to do as portrayed in this show. There is no right or wrong in how you interpret the show. So put your interpretations out there, be respectful, and let's have some fun with it along the way. And so, okay, here's the other thing I wanted to accomplish today. Like I said, I really want to make sure that we're diving deep into the things you want to talk about. So let me know if there are any particular questions or themes that you want me to be especially attentive to as we go through this rewatch. This is obviously best if you are coming to this in real time as I am dropping this before I have started doing the episode recaps, because you can actually help shape the coverage as it happens. But if there's something that you've been really wondering about, if there's a dynamic or if there's any aspect of the show that has been of real interest to you and you'd like to make sure I'm exploring it as fully as possible, then put it in the comments section here. And I'm going to be on the lookout for that starting next week when I cover episode 1. So that's something to be on the lookout for. And then, from that point forward, listen to, towards the end of every podcast, I'll be putting questions out there for discussion, questions that I want to know what you think. And again, anytime you put something in the comments, it could very well end up in a later podcast episode when I bring in audience feedback. So that is some of the things to look for, some of the things to expect. I am so excited to start talking about this show and to see what this can become. I don't necessarily have firm expectations about how much additional coverage I'll have after the first 10 episodes, but let's see what we can do. The more you contribute with your voice, the more there might be to do later. So let's get out there. Let's talk about Daisy Jones and the Six. This is a great time to tell your friends who love Daisy Jones and the Six that this is happening so that we can get people here real time with us as we're all talking about the show together. And let's have fun with this, right? So that's it for now. Next time, we're going to watch episode 1 and talk about it. And until next time, everybody, don't be the muse, be the somebody.